This is the Young and Making It podcast. This
Hello, my beautiful or handsome boss besties. What's up? I hope you guys have had a great weekend or a great week, depending what time you're listening to this episode. But welcome back to another episode of Young and Making It podcast. I'm your host, Jari Javanna. If y'all don't know, you should know by now. And today's episode is going to be really fun for me because I'm talking about some things that probably the people who know me don't even know. So basically, y'all listening to this show, you're going to know a lot more about me than those people. Okay? So just consider yourself lucky because I probably won't tell them this. And they just going to have to listen to this episode or this podcast in general to know more about me. But anyways, trigger warning. If you don't like the sound of things that probably smell bad or sound disgusting, then maybe you should probably fast forward during the middle part of this episode so you don't hear it. But it's gonna be kind of fun. And I think you guys should listen to it anyways. So I'm just putting this disclaimer out there because I don't want nobody to be like, she said something really nasty in this show and I don't like it. But y'all not doing that to me. I don't think not. I think not. But let's get into today's topic, which I'm really excited to talk about. So let's go. Okay, so today I'm talking about the 3 jobs I wanted to do when I was growing up, or the jobs I said I wanted to be when I was growing up. So let me just give you the list. Songwriter, OBGYN, and interior designer. Okay, they have nothing to do with each other, as you can tell about my multi-passionate nonsense. But anyways, let's start with the songwriter. So when I was younger, I'd say about like 9-10 years old, I used to write songs and record them on a touchscreen camera that my mom gave me. I even recorded a whole album and put it on a CD. And my dad and I used to listen to it, and he still teases me to this day about some of the songs. And what I used to do was go online and search for free beats. So there's sites like Shadowville.com, Rocket Pro, smoothbeatsonly.com, stuff like that, and you can just like download the songs. Some of them would have like their producer watermark on the songs, but I didn't care because the beats were good and I wrote a song to it. So that's what I used to do. And because of him, really my dad, I'm an extreme lover of music. Obviously, you know that I'm a dancer too, but when I listen to music, I can like really recognize talents and recognizing what sounds good. I mean, I was given like hit records, okay? I mean, given harmonies, storylines, all of that. That was my thing. I used to do it. My mom used to know that I did it too because I had a whole journal of different songs that was going on that album, quote unquote. Now, mind you, I knew that I'm not an amazing singer, part because I hate my voice. I sound like a kid. I probably talk like I sound like a kid. But I knew that I was good at songwriting, like really good. I could be someone's ghostwriter for like R&B songs and like love songs and breakup songs. Like that's what people talk about anyways. So I could be somebody's ghostwriter. So in this day and age, every once in a while I'll make a song like on GarageBand, or I use a beat from those websites I talked about before, but they shall never be released, okay? I will lose my ish if someone found them. But if anyone ever did, or if you ever needed a song, we can get the rights to the music and you can just re-record them. And I can tell you if it sounds better than me, because it probably would if you are an actual singer. But that's basically my story about songwriting. I love it, and I mean I could still do it if someone ever needed it. So just putting that out there, along with a very long list of other things I like to do. But songwriting, obviously that didn't happen. So We're going to cut that one off. Okay? So the next one is where it gets interesting and where this trigger warning is. If you don't like medical related type of things and stories, then you probably should skip this part. But it also might be the longest one, so we'll see. But when I was in middle school, freshman year of high school, my cousin and I used to be obsessed with the show I Didn't Know I Was Pregnant. I mean, we literally used to be up all night binge watching that show. And actually, this show is the beginning of me having a favorite number, which is 127. Side note, if you know me, you know that I'm obsessed with that number. And it's because I always used to see it every time we'd watch that show. And like, if there was another show after it and I like turned my head away from the clock, because back in the days the cable boxes had the time, and I'd turn back around and then I would see 127. And then one day I realized that the address of the house had 127 in it also, and I was just like, well, it's meant to be. And also, this number is going to be a big deal in the future, and if you continue to listen to this show, you'll understand why. But back to the story. I basically thought that doctors were so cool, especially, just watching the show. I'm like, this is such a fun job. So I wanted to be an OBGYN. So from 10th to 12th grade, I used to volunteer in the labor and delivery department in the hospital during the summers. And I would work at the front desk. I got to restock the rooms and do tasks like that. I got to talk with doctors. I spoke with an anesthesiologist, surgeons, and they used to just give me some insights about what they do, which was cool. And I also was allowed to watch mothers give birth with their consent, of course. So I saw 1 C-section and I think 2 or 3 natural births. And basically I would just be behind the doctors or on the side. Actually, no, I was behind the doctors, obviously out of the way. But to me, I thought it was just so fascinating to see. Women give birth. That's an amazing thing. And obviously I wasn't allowed to hold the babies, but I got to see them before the mamas, so I was hype. So this is how I got turned off from it. Actually, there's 2 reasons. And here is the trigger warning if you want to skip this part. But the first one I saw was a C-section. First of all, I don't know how they had me right behind the surgeons and the medical students were on the sidelines watching. Like, I was literally right behind the surgeon. But, of course, I was hype. I was telling everybody, I was like, hey, I was right behind the doctor, thinking I'm so cool, right? So what had happened was the smell. The smell of burning skin is not something very appealing because, of course, they have to cut the skin open to get the baby out. So there was that, and that's a smell I still to this day remember, and I cannot get rid of that, and I don't want to have a C-section just because of that. It was just weird, but I was also so oh, okay, it's part of the job, I'll be fine. Now, the next and final time I saw anybody give birth was this really young woman. I think she was 20 or so, and I was just like, what is she doing having a kid? She's so young. I knew nothing. Don't hate me for it, okay? So when I tell you the smell was OD, it was very much giving BV. And if I could smell it all the way in the back, imagine what the OBGYN was smelling. So that's when I gave up my dream of being an OBGYN because I was like, yeah, nah, this life ain't for me. And also I liked science, but I sucked at it too. So it wasn't going to go well. And I was just like, I hope that don't happen to me when I have my babies. So yeah, that's when I decided I no longer wanted to be a doctor. Oh, and as a disclaimer, I know how this stuff works. I'm just saying why I decided not to do this as a profession. I know that choosing to have a C-section or not is not really up to you. Things happen, but this is my reasoning for why I didn't want to do this, because I didn't want to be looking at other women's hoo-has like that for the rest of my life until I had to retire. So I just wanted to speak my truth. So let's get into our last one. Alrighty. Now, when I decided I no longer wanted to go to med school, I started to get into interior design. There's a website called Home Styler, and I used to use it to make floor plans. And their original site was very cartoonish. It was giving like an Apple game that no one really pays attention to or plays long enough. Then they eventually updated the site to make it more HD, so you can build your floor plans, add windows, appliances, furniture, stairs, different floors, all of the above. And then when you're done, you can render the image or the area, and it will take a screenshot of that area, and you can choose what environment, what time of day, what kind of lighting that you want, and it will just make a picture that looks like a real picture. And if you are someone who has found me off of YouTube, then you already know this, that I have a whole series called Pimp My Home, which I do DIY projects, organization videos, and this is basically me showcasing this side of me. And that's why I posted on my YouTube channel, because I have the platform, I have the space, and this is the only opportunity for me to start to really get into my interior designer bag. So I really do love building this type of things. Building my dream home is a dream of mine. Obviously, my future husband, he's just gonna have to deal with it, and hopefully, we have similar styles, because I'm not bending my ideas for how I want things to look, because at the end of the day, I'm going to be the one who's, decorating and all those things, unless he's good at that kind of stuff. And look at you. Good for you, babe. Future babe, whoever you are. But out of all the three of these careers, this one is the one that I actually would have done if I had gotten accepted into a school that had interior design in it. Because I actually like doing this stuff. So like I said, I'm going to post some of these renderings on my IG so y'all can see it. But this is pretty much the 3 different jobs that I wanted to do growing up that I didn't. But in some kind of way, shape, or form, I still have gained a lot of knowledge from all these different things. And although they have nothing to do with each other, there's nothing in common with them, I'm still learning a lot of skills and learning about different areas of life. And that's what I love about me, really. It's because I'm curious. I've always been really curious about how things work, how things are made. And no matter what, I'm going to figure out how it happens. So that's my story for the day. And let's get into our next segment, the biz.
I see you with your little business.
Little business, I'm giving BBE big business energy.
Alrighty guys, for this segment today, I don't have anyone that I'm shouting out, but I just want to let you guys know that I do have a Patreon page, and I would love for you guys to join. The first tier starts at $3, then $5, then $15 for the extra special people who want to just support me and also get some extra content and information about other things that I'm doing. But for the lower tiers, I do want to have some bonus content and also behind the scenes content. I can do a lot of those because every time I try to record, my dog decides to bark at whoever is outside of our door, and literally it be taking me forever to just make one episode because I gotta stop and make sure that she's not tapping around the floor. There's just so many different things, but that's the kind of content that I want to post on there. And then you guys can just talk to me. We can have conversations about what you're doing, what I'm working on. Did you hear the tapping? She just did it. But I'm going to keep that right here too, so you guys can understand what I'll be going through. But if you want to join, please do. You can. It'll be great to support the podcast. And also, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already at Young and Making It TV. I'll be posting more on Pimp My Home type of stuff. And then also, this podcast will be on there. And guys, I also want to eventually turn this into a video podcast. At least when I have a more space for me to do it. And also when I have guests, I want to showcase you guys, and I really want to actually show whatever you guys are talking about on the show instead of it just being audio based. So if that's something that you're interested in, please let me know in the comments in YouTube and or on Instagram how you feel, or in the Patreon if you decide to join Patreon. But that is it for this segment. But I want to thank you guys for listening to today's episode. It was pretty fun for me to actually talk about some things that I didn't think I would ever tell anybody. So consider yourself lucky. Again, please make sure to follow the Instagram page at Young and Making It Pod, and if you want to be a guest, you can email me at youngandmakingitpod@gmail.com, or actually on my Instagram, I now have a link with the link tree that you can sign up with the Google form, and you put in your name, your age, what type of topics you want to talk about, and just more information about you so I can understand who you are before you come on the show. So please go ahead and do that. I really, really want to talk to y'all. Okay, let me just say this real quick. I want this show to be the place where people get discovered, okay? And we may be young now. I mean, we are young. We're young and making it, right? But we may be a new podcast, but I really want this to be something that grows. And whatever your talent is, I want people to know about you. And I want this to be the place where they find you. And then hopefully when we get the visual YouTube side of this podcast, then more people can really see you and see your work, because I believe as creatives, we need to showcase what we do to more people and stop being afraid of just being ourselves and letting the world know that we're talented. Sometimes we can just hold ourselves back way too much because we're afraid of what other people are going to think. But this podcast, this is your safe space, and I want you guys to be able to do that, because you know what? I wish I found somebody like me to do that when I was first trying to figure out what I was trying to do in my life. But I really love doing this podcast, and I really hope that you guys enjoy it too. So please be a guest, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye, 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 goodbye. This is why I stopped singing. Anyway,